With the San Francisco 49ers playing in the Super Bowl, you already know what it is. Everyone's talking about Niners, Chiefs, Super Bowl. That is the topic of the next 2 weeks until we get the game on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, that is. So we're getting all kinds of opinions, but there has been one constant source of quarterback clarity when it comes to 49ers Brock Purdy and just the constant narratives around him and everyone trying to give their 2 cents on. There has one guy that has been spot on almost every single step of the way, and that is 49ers former quarterback Steve Young. Obviously, the legend has been joining KMBR all year, and I just love showing and being able to hear what he has to say. And of course, with this game against the Lions, it wasn't pretty to start. So we're going to get his reaction to that game and what they need to do moving forward and how they really need to prepare to go up against a tough task and a tough test in the Kansas City Chiefs. So what we're going to do, we're going to listen to Steve Young give us his keys from the game against the Lions and what we need to do against the Chiefs, and then we're going to react on the other side. Take a listen right here as he joins Tolbert and Copes on KMBR.
It's insane, right? I'm still laughing. Yeah. I'm still laughing, bro.
I mean, I was invited over to see Eminem on at halftime, and I'm like, "You taste it, don't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "You got to get it out of your mouth, man. It's too early. You can't do it yet." And then I told him 34 wins it. I told him that at halftime, like 34. You got to get 10. You got to figure out how to do it. And then they couldn't. So, what an amazing game under that kind of pressure to come back from that far. That's always going to be something that you can hold on to as a team. You can be in a jam and know that you've done it before. Like, you don't want to be there. Nobody wants to be down 24/7 in the championship, especially at home. I mean, you're on the ropes, and to come back and win is an amazing feeling for the fans, for the team, for everybody. And now it's essentially been 2 weeks in a row we've dodged a bullet, and I don't think that we thought at Thanksgiving that we would be that kind of a team that had to be dodging bullets. But yet we did. And so there's a part, the one side of the coin is that we did, and we overcame it and figured it out and won the game. And that's what matters. So that side of the coin is all positive. The other side of the coin says, okay, so we're going to be down so far at home in a championship game as the number 1 seed that I need 3 things to happen or else I'm not going to make it. One, I'll couple these together. I need an insane head coach on the other side who up 24/7 goes it on 4th down. And he's like, this is what I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you know what? Perfect. Go for it on 4th down twice. And really, in many ways, let the 49ers back in the game. So, okay, we need that. And then we need a long ball for a quick touchdown to go off the defender's face mask and then catch it. We need that. And then we need like a preseason game. They need to fumble a handoff. Like the quarterback hands the ball and they've got to fumble it like in August. And so if we get those 3 things, we got it. And we got them. And so for all the good, there's a part of us that needs to, again, I said it last week after Green Bay, you've got to have the vulnerability and the honesty to say, how are we putting ourselves in this kind of a jam? Because we can't continue. Well, maybe we can, but I don't want to continue it this way anymore. I don't want to have a pass rush that does not get into the quarterback. I don't want a secondary that's giving up some yards. I don't want to get down. I want to be consistent in our passing. I mean, it's all that stuff that we saw throughout the season. That was like, these guys no one can beat them. And look, no one has beat them. Okay, so I get that side of the coin, but you can't play championship football. Can't be played waiting for someone to go off someone's face mask. Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Talking to Steve Young here, we do it every week of the 49er season, which is going to continue on into Las Vegas next Sunday, Super Bowl 58.
Steve, as a player who made a few plays with his legs, what can you say about the plays that Brock Purdy made with his legs?
Well, it's a difference maker. I've said for now 5 years or 6 that the game has changed because of rules, and quarterbacks, they're all those yards out there. You have to take them. And if you can't go take them, then you're going to make it extra hard on yourself. And I said before the game, I don't know who I was talking to, Joe Fonzie or someone, is like, you've got to have Brock spit out 50 yards. Like, he needs that in championship football. We're going to need that. We'll need that in the Super Bowl. We need the ability to get out there and get those big, huge, crushing first downs and even a touchdown. It's the game today. It's what Patrick does. It's what Josh does. It's what Lamar does. It's what the guys that are, kind of the big kings of the castles, and Brock doing that, and really backbreaking moments was the key. And he's nifty. He's got his, it's like he's not the fastest guy in the 40, but he's plenty quick. And I loved it. I think we need more of that in the Super Bowl, to be honest with you.
Our question of the day, Steve, has been, does being battle-tested bode well for the 49ers in the Super Bowl? I think you touched on it a little bit in the open here. Like, you don't want to be in that position, but knowing you can do it and overcome some adversity, how do you sort of view that being beneficial for a team that hadn't done it this season? This season's team hadn't really dealt with a lot of adversity and then come back and won the game.
Well, I don't know that you have to face that kind of adversity. Hey, we're not going to play well, and then we're going to try to make up for it. Like, how about let's just play well and not worry about it? And so look, as I said, the one side of the coin is it's a positive. It was a gut check. It was all the things that are important to a team, the psychology. But it also adds, in the last couple of weeks, some indecision, right? Like, well, how do we get here? What are we doing that's allowing this? And how do we prevent this? And I don't like that being in our psyche. I like being able to, we're the most talented, strongest, most physical team in the country, in the league, and we're smashing everybody. I like that mentality, kind of leaning in, and not having this doubt that things can go haywire. And I appreciate the strength of the team to come back. That's the locker room. That's the guys. That's the connective tissue that they have. That is like work together. You cannot break us. I love that. I don't think it's the way to survive in championship football.
You said to us last week a bunch of things about Brock Purdy having to turn the page. Even after that final drive against the Packers, 7 of 8 on the final drive, the 2 first downs he picks up and they win, you said he's got to turn the page, he's got to turn the page. I didn't think he was that bad in the first half of the game. I just thought the Lions were so great, the defense didn't look good, and that was the bigger issue. But he was sharp. They were aggressive in the second half. You talk about the running, but 13 of 16, he turned the page, man. Nothing seems to faze him, and he's entering, really, in my mind, like the last box to check of things he hasn't experienced already at the NFL level.
Right. I mean, there's not many left, and keep knocking them down.
Yeah.
And then people will keep setting up the hurdle. Like, here's another hurdle. Like, set them up, just knock them down. And I agree. And I think at some point, like with other quarterbacks that have accomplished great things, you knock them all down, and then people just get quiet. They just move on, right? And it's like it's nothing to see here. And so I think that's where Brock would be fun to get to, where he doesn't have to put up with it. But until then, it's just natural. And then even when you do, it's like, well, then you got to do it 3 more times. You got to do, like, it never ends, like, in some ways. So I don't think you get away from it, but I think that the noise will abate as he continues to just kind of perform.
Steve, looking at not getting off to maybe the bad starts and the things that didn't go well and that need to be fixed, what do you see defensively from the 49ers that needs to be fixed quick if they're going to get off to a better start and not fall behind?
If the Chiefs start running the football effectively and turn it and going between the 20s, running the football kind of really efficiently, that's not what we want, because we want Patrick Mahomes under duress early. We want him 3rd and long. We want him trying to be Superman, trying to overcome, a deficit early. Like, those are the kind of things you want to put him in that jam. So he has to be Superman for 4 quarters, not just for, a couple. And so if they're running the ball, dropping it off, moving the ball effectively, scoring points, it's like, no. Like, we don't want to get into that kind of game with Patrick. And so last week, our run defense is not there. Our Our pass defense is not there. We're not rushing the quarterback. We're not getting to the quarterback like we want to. So all of that, and you guys know in the Super Bowl 3 or 4 years ago, it was the defense that kind of set the tone, led the way, created the environment where the ball was coming back to the offense tons. Don't worry about it. We got your back, And that's just not what's happened in the last couple of weeks. So we've got to get back, because if we can early on put that kind of put Patrick under duress, have him try to do too much, because he gets into these modes where he forgets the rank, the commodity offense, just drop back, throw the ball, drop it off, make the gain, and he starts to just try to do too much. It's just a Superman mentality. You want him to start doing that early. And the only way to do that is put that team under duress, and you cannot allow him to run the football effectively.
It does seem like when he does those things that are off script late in games or late in the first half, you're right. It's like that's when it's more dangerous, when he's up against the clock and defenses have kind of broken down, and his improvisational skills are like the best.
Well, you just can't do it. Yeah, but Adam, you can't do it for 4 quarters.
That's what I mean, is you get to him early.
Yeah, he did that. He did that against the Chiefs. I remember they got up early or something. I can't remember what happened, or down against the Bengals in a championship game. And you can't do that for 4 quarters, just kind of winging it. Like, you got to have some great offense, some effective offense. And that's what the Lions had that whole first half, was just solid, strategic, efficient offense that our defense had no answer. And that's the thing that we Jared Goff's one thing, Patrick Mahomes is another.
Steve, if Kyle Shanahan said, hey, I want you to give a message to the team before the game, as a team that's been in this position and a group of players that haven't quite been able to get over the hump, what would your message be as far as just going out there and trying to get it done?
We can't championship football, you never waste a series. You don't feel things out. You don't wonder how it's going to go. And the Lions did that. They played championship football the first half. That's how you do it. And then they can't close. And in some ways the Packers did. We need to flip that script. That's who we are. We go out and dominate and don't waste a series and put people on notice and put people on their backs and make people frantic, and know that the Super Bowl, it's halftime and now you're down, and now instead of leaving the door open like the Lions did and do goofball stuff, we shut it forever like we did. And so that's the script that we need to flip, and I would tell the team, whatever you've watched the other two teams do the last couple of weeks, that's us now. That's how we need to do it. And we've got to put the Chiefs, kind of basically on their back by halftime.
Look, Alex Smith, we were looking at the Adam Schefter podcast. I know you did a hit there last week, and Alex Smith said he thinks Niners have to win a shootout. You never know what kind of game it's going to be. It's not the kind of game I anticipate, just based on what we've seen from the Chiefs in the second half of games this year. That offense has struggled to remain humming for 4 quarters.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And I think both defenses will rise up. I think the 49ers will not. They've just got to. That script has got to change. And so I just suspect that if, I think both teams are capable of getting in a shootout and going 45-41. I think someone could score 45, but it's not going to be both. You know what I mean? And so someone could get smashed. I think that, it's more likely that we can smash them and do something, 41-17, it's possible. I think if they win, it would have to be a little bit of a shootout at the end. You know what I mean? Something tight, back and forth, Patrick doing something spectacular like happened 4 years ago. I just can't imagine us getting into another jam where we get down like the Ravens and then get put away.
There's multiple takeaways from this, but I think the one that really stands out to me is what he said about how they need to attack this game against the Chiefs and how they need to flip this script. And I think he's being 100% honest. He's not sugarcoating anything. He believes that the San Francisco 49ers need to come out firing, not tentative. And I would have to agree with him. I would say in both the first halves against the Green Bay Packers and against the Lions, it kind of feels like they're feeling it out a little bit, right? They're kind of like, let's see how this is going to go. And they need to be ultra aggressive, kind of like how they were out of halftime against the Lions. They need to be firing. They need to be in and out of their offense, being creative, not just hand it off to CMC and let him run into, get those creative juices flowing within the scheme and then start seeing what you can get away with and what you can pick on, and then get into the rhythm of your offense. And it just feels like, the last two playoff games, they've been really stagnant at the beginning of the game and just low energy. And typically, I would say Kyle's pretty good, especially this year, at being able to script those first 15, and get the team into a rhythm early. And that just hasn't been the case in the playoffs. So I wonder if it's a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, unwilling to just unlet it, unleash. But I would love to see that. I would love to see Kyle come out and get after it. I also love the part where Steve Young's talking about what Brock Purdy has to do with his legs, and the fact that Steve Young told whoever he was speaking to before the game about, oh yeah, Brock's gonna have to get 50 with his legs. Like, I don't think he's just saying. I believe he said that, and this is one thing that I picked up on Steve throughout the year talking about Brock. Steve identifies with the Patrick Mahomeses, with the Lamar Jacksons, with the Josh Allens, because as we know, he was like one of those early mobile quarterbacks that was in the wrong era. So he totally puts himself in that tier, which he should be. So when he talks about Brock, he's talking about Brock from that perspective. He's not talking about it like he's Joe Montana running the West Coast scheme, as a prototypical pocket quarterback, all those different types of things. He's talking about it from like this gunslinger, get out and make things shake perspective. And that's one of the things that I've noticed from him all year, is kind of really identifying more so with Lamar Jackson than he would identify with Brock Purdy. So the fact that he said before the game that Brock is going to have to use his legs, and then in this game we see Brock use his legs. I mean, it's a great call by him, and again, it's another reason why he gives great analysis. And the thing is Brock can do this. Go back to the Bengals game. Brock was running all over the field. He has this ability. He's shown it before. But when I look at Brock, I look at him as having that kind of Russell Wilson mentality, a guy who can move um, and run, but he's escaping the pocket to pass. He's not running through the B gaps. He's gonna try to bail outside of the pocket to buy more time, buy more space, and find someone downfield. He's less inclined to just sit back, kind of watch the middle of the field open and just shoot the B gap. And he was doing that in this game against the Lions, and he got a lot of yards. He also got some yards to the outside, but you saw him step up into the pocket and out through that B gap and wiggle free. And Steve Young believes that's going to be required to beat the Chiefs. So again, there's so many different things that Steve had to say, but I agree with it. Uh, y- this is the game to be ready. This is the game to not be playing from behind. This is the game to come out firing on all cylinders and leave it all out there. Do not coach timid. Do not play timid. Come out just absolutely gangbusters. I agree. That's what I want to see. I think a lot of 49er fans want to see that, and we want to see that aggressiveness and that type of nature early on. We don't want to see them like almost playing to not make a mistake. I think there's tale of two Kyles. There's playing to not make mistakes, and then where he's ultra aggressive. I want. I'm with Steve. I want to see ultra aggressive Kyle. I want to see Kyle foot on the gas, just drawn crazy. I just, that's what I want personally. What do you guys want? What do you want to see? What do you think the 49ers need to do? And what do you think of Steve Young's assessment of Brock Purdy in that game against the Lions, the comeback win, and what they need to do against the Chiefs? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates. And you can find the link to the full interview in the description and head over to KMBR to listen to the whole thing.